amoroso, notte e giorno d'intorno girando.
Greetings everyone, this is Beer Bubble coming to you from the Cataclysm beta, and this is going to be a real short video about setting up Healbot for Holy Paladins. Now, it's not necessarily the absolute orthodox way or the only way to go about setting up Healbot, but perhaps you can walk away with this taking some tips and some ideas for setting it up for yourself. Right away, Healbot has a way of configuring different options. If you click on the options button under Healbot, pull up the spells tab, and if you look up towards the top, you'll have the option to select different buttons: left, middle, right, button 4, button 5, button 6. Now I'm using a wireless mouse that only has 4 buttons, so my only options are going to be left, middle, right, and button 4. You might have 5 options or 6 options depending upon the mouse that you use. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using 4 button configurations, and we're going to start with left, proceed to middle, then right, then button 4. Okay, just a quick word about how I'm actually going about grouping my items together. I'm actually grouping the spells in the various buttons, left, middle, right, and button number 4, which is my thumb button, by general utility, the type of spell that it is. For instance, my left button, I use all my standard healing casts. My middle, I'm going to use some of my specialty healing spells. My right button, I'm using for a lot of my hand of insert here, salvation, freedom, sacrifice, even lay on of hands. And button number 4, I'm using for some of the utility things like holy shock, cleanse, beacon of light. All right, let's take a look at and just go through each different button and the function that I'm actually going to be using it for. We'll start out with the left button. I've got 3 different options that I'm using: just the regular left click, I'm using shift left click, and also control left click. For regular left click, I'm using Holy Light. For your typical bread and butter holy spell, it's very low cost to my mana, and it's a mediocre heal. For shift left click, I'm using Flash of Light. It's somewhat of a filler healing spell, although that's up for debate because of the mana cost. And then for control left click, I'm using Divine Light, which is basically the old school Holy Light, although it seems to consume a lot more mana than the old school Holy Light. Alright, so the left clicking is all about just standard healing casts. I've switched over to the middle. I'm using more utility healing things. For my middle, I'm using Word of Glory, which is basically my free healing spell that I cast when I have my holy power charged up. For shift middle, I'm using Light of Dawn, which is that cone healing effect. And for control middle, I'm using Holy Radiance, which is our new AoE healing effect. And of course, you're not going to get that until level 85, but it's good to be thinking about that now. Alright, switching over to the right click. I've got 4 different options. I'm doing right click, shift right click, control right click, and then control shift right click. Now, the whole purpose between having that 4th one, the control shift right click, it's basically an oh crap moment, and I want to be extra intentional about using it. Alright, for starters, for right click, I'm using Hand of Salvation, which basically will reduce the amount of threat. Shift right click is Hand of Freedom, which will free a party member from movement impairment. If I go to control right click, that's Hand of Sacrifice, which will transfer damage to me. If I want to, I can even I could macro that if I want, and actually use a combination macro where I'd Hand of Sacrifice and Bubble. And then for the ultimate control shift right click, that's Lay on of Hands, the oh crap heal if the tank is taking a nosedive. And then moving on to button number 4, which is my thumb button. I'm using some utility stuff as well as one for Holy Shock. So just the regular button 4 click is Holy Shock. If I do shift button 4, I'm using my cleanse, which cleanses both poison and magic effects. And then control button 4 is Beacon of Light. So that's kind of my setup. It's really basic, but you don't have to use it this way, but I find it helpful to group the different spells on the different mouse buttons that are available to me, and then use the shift and control options to toggle different types of spells. So why don't you give it a try? What I would suggest is to get used to this. Just hang out in the cathedral or someplace and just get used to casting the different options, and before you head off into a dungeon and try it out for real. So anyways, if you have any questions, let me know. Drop it a line in the YouTube channel and I'll see what I can do to help. And I hope this has been helpful for getting you started at setting up Healbot as a Holy Paladin. Good luck and enjoy Cataclysm.